hope you guys are ready because we're about to get started with the first session. So sound off in the comments how you guys are feeling right now. I see everyone's hype. We're ready to go. We love it. So we are going to get started. I'm going to add Kendra. We're going to be waiting for Tony, and we are going to get started on this conversation. If you are ready, put ready in the comments. I want to see who's ready. Put ready in the comments, and I'm going to see if y'all ready for this conference. All right? So let's get Kendra. Hey, Kendra.
Hello, how are you?
Tony's going to be joining us very shortly, but we're going to get started with the session right now. So Kendra, can you please just give us a brief description of who you are, what you've been doing? I know that you have been working with the Breakfast Club, Power 1.51. You do great work with the Black Girls Can organization. So please just let us know more about yourself and what school you go to as we're waiting for Tony to join us for this session.
So, hi, everybody. I genuinely appreciate you for showing up today for us really learning about horizontal networking and how we can really empower one another because we are the faces of the future. You know, so even just this extending hand, and Deandra, I really want to just say thank you for even extending the hand of reaching out to me.
Hey, Tony. Hey. Yes, we got a full session.
Full session.
You can go on, Kendra. Keep on talking about yourself.
Okay, so since I was younger, I've always, whether it was being inspired by my sisters, those in my community and in family, I was always challenged and conversation of how we as a society view color structure and how colorism plays a part in media, which was something that I knew early on that I wanted to tap into. And I didn't want the next generation of Black girls or like, you know, certain women coming up to me. I didn't know why we were still having these repetitive conversations of, you know, discrimination within ourselves. So that's where, you know, my sister with Black Girls Can comes into play. We want to help foster the next generation of Black girl talent in the STEM and STEAM fields and wellness and entrepreneurship. And it kind of has grown steadily. But from when I was younger, media, I love media from junior high. My friends will be able to tell you, like, Charlamagne, the Breakfast Club was always, everybody knew, family knew, that was something that I was on. It was just a goal of mine to always attain. So once the position, I know you're going to ask more questions about this later, but once that came, I was you know, going in that force and also fostering the relationships, not just for myself, to build my career path where I want it to be, also through the direction of God, because being in this industry or just living life as a Black woman, your faith does have to be strong, and your will and your drive and your endurance for everything that you go through is, you know, it has to be tough.
Very true.
But
yes, one thing I want to say, because I want to welcome Tony in because he's joining in on our session. One thing that's really special about both of you guys in your career right now, for Tony, actually, I've been admiring you from afar. I remember when you got your Good Morning America internship and you actually crowdfund for you to be able to go to New York, and you was able to find your accommodation. You were able to live out your dreams. So that's one thing that we definitely have to point out with Tony. I've been watching your journey from then, and you've progressed so much professionally and everything like that. So I'm very appreciative for you guys to join today. So I just want to be mindful of the time, but I also want to get down to the nitty gritty. So I know a lot of students, when they're applying for their internships and they really want to get full-time jobs, if you guys could just give 3 quick tips. What are 3 tips that you feel that you should have when you are interning to make sure that you really secure that bag so they call you back for that full-time
job? Well, I would have to say, and first of all, thank you for having me. Welcome, everyone. I'm really excited to have this conversation. The 3 tips that I have, and I hope everyone watching this, you have your notes out on your computer or you have notes to write down, because we're about to drop some gems in this session. The first one would be, I networked from top to bottom. And when I say bottom, I don't mean that to be disrespectful. I'm just saying anyone from the people in the cafeteria to the people helping clean the facility, to the executive producer, to the mid producers, to the segment producers, to talent bookers. I networked with everyone. And it wasn't even about necessarily I'm networking with this person and that person so that I can get this. It was more so I wanted to network with everyone because I just truly love relationships. And to be in this media industry, you have to have relationships, and knowing how to talk to any and everyone is important. Now, trust me, like, for example, when I got the internship at Good Morning America, I was a little, nervous walking down those halls. Those are some, these are people who have been, this is the #1 morning show in the country. So it was a little nerve-wracking, but I made sure I did it. So one, network from top to bottom. Two, I offered my help. So I asked everyone, I said, look, you need help with this. What can I do? If you ever need anything, let me know. And I said yes when people were offering me projects that I didn't necessarily ask for. It might be some things that I look at and say, okay, but I say yes, and I do it anyway because there are lessons in the small assignments. And then lastly, when I first got there and when I leave on my last day, I send out a welcome and a goodbye email. I send out a welcome email, saying either who I am, grateful to be here. I don't do it to say, look at me, I'm in the building, but more so just thank you for the opportunity. I am here, so let me know if you need anything. And then bye, kind of saying thank you for the opportunity. Thank you for teaching me what you taught me. And then maybe giving them a heads up of what you're doing next. I'm as I complete this internship, this is what I have next, and I hope to stay in contact with you. So those are my 3 tips: network from top to bottom, offer your help and say yes, and then send welcome and goodbye emails.
Okay, so that follow-up game got to be strong then.
That's gotta be strong.
On point. Okay, Kendra, what about you? What are your 3 tips? Because you were at the Breakfast Club. I'm pretty sure celebrities are coming in there top to bottom while you were there. So what were your 3 tips?
Authenticity for sure was #1, because even my first day, because it's so much, you might think this is the hype being in the entertainment industry of all of these people. But when you think about it, when you level yourself, and thankfully I did work around people who were very humble, the personality, Charlemagne, Angela, Envy, the producers, everybody, it wasn't no, I'm here, and because you're starting out as an intern, I'm gonna demean you. So just being truly myself, not being afraid to tap into the persona Kendra that people genuinely know me to be, and that reflects well in entertainment. It can be you see a lot of fake stuff going on, or a certain perception that people may want to lead on. But I feel like authenticity, you're being your true self, and also still being professional in a sense. Breakfast Club was very family-like, so I did love that. But authenticity for sure. And like Tony was saying, extending the hands, going above and beyond of just your job qualities, your basic tasks, whether that's, if you're working with personalities who don't only have the show, or you're in a space where this isn't the only realm where you can tap into, there can be other circuits that you can get, you can network. And like I said, that's where authenticity comes into play, because it may be like, yeah, you work here from 5:30 in the morning until maybe 12 to 2, but there's also an event going on later on. If you would like to, just, and not always thinking about the financial part of it, I feel like that can kind of be a misconception of, yes, my work is valuable. However, when you're first getting into this space, a lot of the stuff you might not be doing it for a full-on compensation. However, I will say that does come with it, because once they do see your work, and if they do appreciate you, and when somebody who might be a position above you and they can contribute to you like that, that's when thank you, for even seeing that within me. But even the experience itself is beneficial to you. And lastly, I would say personal conversations. I had many deep conversations where it's, yes, I don't have these certain experiences as you.
Yeah.
Oh, she froze for a second.
Okay.
You guys hear me?
Yeah, we can hear you now. You just froze up a little bit. We're good.
Okay, so yes, just really having those genuine conversations where you like authenticity, it comes into place. Not be able to connect with you on being a manager in production, or being a producer. I'm only 21 years old. However, I do have experiences where we can be relatable in these things. So you're not only viewing me in the light of Kendra's here for the production team or digital team or whatever your task may be, Kendra's a whole person. She's another entity. So really connecting on that, and knowing like we're all just people at the end of the day, striving for better in our lives, striving to be better people, striving for, financial freedom, whatever that is, to tap into what you want to. So authenticity, extending the hand, and personal conversations is what helped me out.
Okay.
Retweet.
Yeah, no, those are some gems right there. And one thing I really want to echo is the fact that Tony said about not necessarily worrying about the payment. I know as students, we're full time, and sometimes those dollar signs could kind of steer us away from those opportunities that would be great. Sometimes there's a lot of great unpaid internships that are out there, but it does affect us sometimes. You know, if you are of a background where you can't necessarily afford to take an unpaid internship, or it may be, too expensive for you, definitely try to see if your career center can help you out with a grant or something, and to see if that can support you in that area. However, I want to get back to you guys, and I call this section the fire round. So I'm going to ask you guys some questions, and you guys let me know, answer it really quickly. So what is the biggest celebrity that you guys have seen at your job, and what was your reaction? Go.
Kendra, you go ahead first.
People might hate me when I say this, but because so early, it was just like, I realized once I met from junior high until I met Charlemagne, he was always just, that was somebody whose content I appreciated and valued so much. So when I met him, it was like 18-year-old me was a little stuck. But I will say my first celebrity crush, probably my first or second day, it was Davies. And I was like to my boss, oh my God, oh my God. But other than that, I don't really geek out. I love the conversations, especially when the celebrities can be themselves and not the celebrity. I genuinely love that. So okay. I'm sorry for being boring, but I can't specifically pinpoint, but because I have met a plethora of people, it kind of just, hi, I'm Kendra Dennis. I'm here to take you upstairs to the breakfast, so that whole conversation spiel. I'm sorry if I bored anybody, but Tony, I would love to hear you.
And I would have to say mine is one of my favorites was Anthony Anderson. Good Morning America is definitely, I would say, like the Breakfast Club. Celebrities come in so much, you lose track of who all comes in.
Yes.
But the most important thing, because Anthony Anderson was, just so humble. He was joking with us. I ran and got him breakfast. Okay. As the talent, intern, you run back and forth.
You got that order right. I'm pretty sure.
And I got that order right. But I think the most important thing about that question, and I think that Kendra kind of put it on the head. In this business, you cannot be starstruck. You cannot lose your professionalism because of someone who's been on TV. Yes, you can admire them and you could have loved their work. Yeah. When Michael B. Jordan was there, we had ladies going crazy. But at the end of the day, you're there for business, and they'll respect you and remember you more if you act that way, because they'll be like, who is that who brought me? That's an intern? Because we've had interns who have chased people down the hallway. I'm sure, Kendra, you know stories too. People have chased people down the hallways, asking for selfies.
I know a kissing story, but
it's like, yes, allow them to be that way. They might say, hey, let's take a picture. And then it's like, okay, cool, let's take a picture. Or if you hop in one that's with a group, but don't be that intern that is that intern, because you will get talked about, remembered, and later on, they won't bring you back.
I see. Okay. Those are really great facts for those who are interested in getting into media and entertainment. But I do want to segue over and see how we can talk about how you guys are able to navigate keeping those relationships. I know sometimes it could be awkward. Like let's just admit it. It could be awkward when you're in an internship and someone's much older than you and they're probably far more along in their career and you may admire them. And it could be a bit intimidating afterwards. You're kind of just like, well, what do I do to keep the conversation going even after I've ended my internship? How can I update them? Can you guys just share one tip that you have done, to be able to really maintain those relationships and allow it to be organic and not something where you're just hitting up your supervisors when you may need a recommendation or something, but generally checking in on them and letting them know about your professional development?
Well, one, I would say real quick, one thing that I do is I leave, before I leave the internship, I leave a little token. I leave a handwritten thank you note. I go to the dollar store and I get a bunch of thank you cards, and I just write like little notes, maybe a memory or something that we had, a moment that we shared. Because one, the fact that it's handwritten and the fact that you gave them a thank you note, you'll stand out and they will remember you. Sometimes you can add a little gift to it. You might include some candy or, I got like these little Rubik's cubes that they can just keep. They had stars on them, and I said, you're a star. And they can put that on their desk and always remember when they get frustrated, they can just use that. That's one thing that I use to stand out. I asked a request to connect with them on LinkedIn if they have a LinkedIn. And I follow up like 6 months or 3 months. I'd send an email and I say, hey, how are you doing? I'm just checking in, letting you know how I'm doing and how's the family. So little things that make you stand out.
Right. And like what Tony was saying, yes, when your internship finishes, you want to make sure you give that personal touch, because interns come through and through, you know. For my position at Breakfast Club, it was my internship lasted a little longer than the average intern because they just wanted to keep bringing me back so often. So almost a 2-year length process there of, you know, navigating the process of intern, but them also wanting me to, you know, switch over into that realm of, you know, getting more hours and doing more things, you know. So it starts from when you're working with them and building those relationships, you know, so that they remember. So when you hit them up, it's not, oh no, hey, I need this new job and I need it. You don't want to be me. You know, you never want to. Yes, we want to lift each other up, but how can this be mutually beneficial? You know,
that is.
So yeah, you never want to feel be selfish, because especially those in a higher position than you within the job realm, especially if they dedicate that special time to you, you know, not just because I've seen some bosses, thankfully I've never had this experience, but it's like they don't have connections with their interns. It's legit, do your work, stay out of my space, and that's what it is, you know. So that can be a little hard navigating it in that way, but also your work stands for itself. And then like Tony was saying, those conversations, just tapping in, hey, how's everything going? A lot of people in the industry love drinks and dinner. A lot of people everywhere love drinks and dinner, you know. And sometimes I didn't feel like, oh man, I don't know, you know, I'm younger, I don't know which way they might perceive this. But if people love your conversations, and like I said, it starts within your work and those personal conversations, and you being authentic, and then being like, Rebecca, Timothy, you know, they were.
That is true. So really quickly as well, I really want to touch on both of you guys had really unique internships. And like I mentioned before, Tony, you really stood out to me because I remember your story was trending like on LinkedIn and Twitter when you were raising money for your internship because you were originally from Atlanta. So I don't know if anybody's from ATL. Y'all can raise it up in the comments. And he was going to New York for their first semester, and New York is very expensive. So being able to finance that and all. Can you guys just touch on really quickly how you were able to get your internships? I really want to highlight the fact that there's more than you have to go beyond than just applying online. And sometimes you can even go a non-traditional route of getting your internship and shooting your shot, and sometimes it can work. So really quickly, as we're about to close out with this session, just let us know how you guys are actually able to get your internships.
So I'll tell my story real quick. So I had a total, when I graduated college, I had a total of 8 internships throughout the time that I was in school. So I say that proudly because it was tough. But for one of them is the most interesting. It was for Good Morning America. I was able to intern at the headquarters over a summer. I previously was interning with the King Center. They're both in Atlanta. When I was through it being an intern, I made connections, networked with individuals, and they asked me to present an award at their biggest fundraiser of the year. It was to the CEO of the Boys and Girls Club. So I was there. We've never met before, never communicated any sort of way. I had just been a club kid before. So when I was there at the dinner table, they sat myself, the CEO, his wife, and my mom. We were just talking, you know, just having regular conversation. My mom was talking to his wife. Again, we've never met each other, never knew each other. He didn't see my resume, anything like that. We were just, like I said, just talking. I liked him. He liked me. He said, "What are you doing over the summer?" I said, "I don't know." So once we got on stage, this is in front of dignitaries, political people, the mayor, he gets on stage and he begins to accept the award. And then he mentions, you know, we do this for individuals, because I told him a little bit about my story. He said, individuals like Tony. And then he said, Tony will be interning with us for a paid internship throughout the summer. And they didn't even have paid internships at the time in my department. So of course, at that point, I'm like, well, I know what I'm doing. So I say that to say that's a non-traditional route. Like it wasn't an interview. Well, it was an interview, but it was a conversation. It was just a networking over dinner, and you don't even know. And a blessing came out of that. The second thing, real quick, for Good Morning America, I actually applied twice. I didn't get it the first time. The second time I did get it. So that just goes to show, don't give up. If they deny you the first time, apply a second time, because it's a lot of people who apply for these big internships at the White House, Breakfast Club, GMA. So you never know. Always try a second time, because that's when God wants you to do it, because there's a reason you didn't get it the first time.
Okay.
Right.
Yes, Kendra, touching on that, how did you get your internship? Because you have a very interesting story with that. Tell us really quickly.
Yes. So like Tony was speaking a little bit on, like, I'm a firm believer in like shooting your shot in any space,
Mhm.
you know, kind of, because certain things, they're not just going to fall in your lap. You know, I can be like, when I, like I said, people knew from junior high, high school. So my freshman year, that I wanted Breakfast Club so bad. That was my like number one. I gotta get this as like, you know, my intern, or not even just an internship. I think I just really wanted a conversation with Charlamagne is what it was. It wasn't even it, and sometimes it just, like Tony was saying, it just starts with a conversation.
Yeah.
So I was a little insecure at first because all of high school, I only interned at a law firm. Well, I don't want to say only. Thank God, you know, I was able to intern at a law firm. However, I felt like that was no longer geared towards me and what I wanted to do in that space at the time. So I did some job shadowings with media and entertainment companies where I was interested, but I was still like, but something about Breakfast Club though that I really want. So I love some of my, you know, broadcasting, my radio classes in college. I was at Long Island University. But I was just like, let me just write a letter to Charlamagne. So found the address of Breakfast Club, typed up a letter, included my resume, included, you know, how much he inspired me and how I loved conversation and what he was doing for our culture and just changing, switching it around. So I gave him, it was very in-depth. It was very personal. I didn't want it to come off as any other, you know, people got a whole lot of messages and a whole lot of emails and a whole lot going on. So you kind of want to stand out. So I sent off the letter. I Googled, I did a career day and an actor and I actually spoke about this. He's an actor on Broadway. Sometimes all you just got to do is Google emails of whoever you might want to meet and the person around them. I was probably on Google page search 9 and I found Charlamagne's assistant's email.
Wow.
Emailed her the letter too, found her Snapchat, sent her the Snapchat and my resume.
Ooh.
She actually hit me back on Snapchat.
Sliding your resume in the Snapchat DM.
I was just like, because the thought process for me was, I don't know these people. So if nothing comes out of it, I know I wasn't doing anything salacious. I know I wasn't doing anything crazy. I was legit somebody who was hungry for knowledge and hungry for conversation. So when Charlamagne's assistant Paige hit me back, she said, hey, this is when Charlamagne was doing his show at MTV2 on Common Sense. They were like, hey, we'll be here. If you want to have a conversation with us, come. I remember the date, March 31st, I think 2017. And I was just like, oh my God, 4:00. So my school was all the way in Long Island, deep in Long Island. So I left class early and was just like, hey, I gotta, get this. So I had that conversation with them. It happened so things happen so organically, and that's when like God is really in alignment and your things are aligning as they should be. Charlamagne's assistant and I went from wearing the same shoes, having conversation about culture. Me speaking to Charlamagne when he was on the set, being able to actually see the environment in this, and if this is even something that I would like to tap into. So at the time, Charlamagne was doing, and the conversation there lasted like 2 to 3 hours. And it wasn't even, I didn't expect to even be there that long, And then later on, a couple months later, Charlamagne was doing his book tour and his assistant had asked me if I wanted to, help around with any of the book tours going on in New York. Again, freshman me, I was just like, yes. And I didn't care about, it wasn't even asking like, hey, so are you going to at least pay for my train fare or whatever? It was like, no, you wanted this, so go after it, right? So then it led from there, me consistently like interacting with them and also thanking them for the time that you want to always say your please and thank yous. I always say mannerisms will take you. This is taught me, mannerisms will take you where money won't. And that's something that I want all of you to hone in on, because you can be here and we've seen people be at the highest of their peak and then humility and God comes into perspective and will check you instantaneously, So just it sparked from there. Charlamagne said, hey, we're looking for interns. I thought that I would be able to start in the spring. However, it didn't align that way. Okay. So when it was my sophomore year, I was like, okay, let me now Charlamagne said, I want you to be one of the interns. So he allowed that to happen, and he was definitely that liaison. Him and I will always give my thank yous to them, like just even allowing that door, them being the vessel for all of this to happen. So, just shoot your shot, because people shoot their shots in DMs all the time. If you want a career, if you want this certain space, if you want this conversation, and like even when you shoot your shot, this is my husband. So the job doesn't have to be your end all be all, right? Just go after it as if it's like a regular casual date. Get an interview process. Just see if it balances. See if it aligns with you. Fill it out. So always trust in God, trust in yourself. If you put good works out there, I promise you, even when it seems like things aren't aligning well, trusting in yourself and in the relationships you create, and really honing in on those as you hone in on yourselves. And God will take you through. So.
Yes.
No,
love that.
Stories are really inspiring. I think it's like the grit about New York that really makes you, grind to really get to what you really want to do in life and not giving up. And I think both of you guys are touching on, just the persistence of manifesting things that you may want in your career and things, but not only just, praying and hoping that this internships or these opportunities that you want will happen, but also being proactive. And I think a beautiful thing in both of your stories is that you both touched on the fact that not only you were persistent, but you were professional. Professionalism is key, especially entry level. You should always come playing correct. You should always come prepared. As you can see in both of their stories, Kendra was prepared when Charlamagne's assistant, asked her to come over and speak to them. Tony was prepared when he was at that fundraiser and he wanted to present that award, and that time came. And when it was time for him to come to New York, he didn't let money stop him. He was able to get there. So I definitely would say that you guys who are listening and tuning in right now, if you want to see how you can transition from that internship to full-time roles, we're going to have some other sessions that can really touch on that. I know some students may be wondering how you manage that even with school and doing these type of roles as well. So we're definitely going to get into that. But before we end it off, how can people find you? How can we contact you? What is your personal brand? What are you guys working on before we head into the next session, which is pre-law? So yeah.
Kendra, you want to go? Because I'm going to make mine quick.
Okay, so right now, Black Girls Can, all things Black Girls Can, really using the relationship that I curated, like we were talking about sometimes, especially if you might be a little bit of a person who might be prideful and you don't know, or you just don't know the way about hitting people up. Those relationships with Black Girls Can as director of partnerships, and really not only just using these career paths and these things that can be beneficial for my individual self, but also doing it for the greater good of Black girls and all things Black girl wellness and power. But also you can follow me on IG at Keep Up with Kendra. I'm sorry. Just started Twitter. You can follow me on Twitter at Kendra Dennis 18. And also you can look to see some lifestyle videos from me. I'm also going to be tapping into, I was on the back end of production. However, because of also things like this, Deandra, even thank you for, you never really know how powerful your voice is and how prophetic your words are in manifesting things. So you'll definitely be seeing me on the other side of the camera soon. But yes, and Tony, would you like to go?
Yes, you all can find me on everything at Tony BettonJr TV. I just dropped it in the chat for you. And what I'm working on, so currently post GMA internship, I am now a reporter, anchor, and producer I'm in Fort Wayne, Indiana. And I actually was just producing the morning show, so I'm going to sleep after this session for a minute, but I'm gonna be back for the network.
Okay.
Just that's what I'm doing. I'm telling stories daily, getting my local experience. And that's one of the things. Don't get caught up on always trying to be on camera. Just like kind of what Kendra said, don't try to always be stuck on being on camera. I'm producing, and I'm so glad I've been able to learn the roles of other responsibilities. Some are talent bookers, some are producers. There are so many other positions than just being on camera. And I'm so glad I've been able to learn that. So you guys, I just want to end with continue to be great. Follow your dreams, do what you can, be professional. And actually, I have this right here. I got this for y'all. Be the intern they have to hire. I think it's backwards, but be the intern that they have to hire. That's what it says. Just flip it or whatever. So you guys be great. And thank you for the opportunity.
No problem. Sure.